Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there. Good morning to you. Happy Monday. Happy sunny, warm Monday. Not be able to say on Tuesday, mostly because it isn't Monday and it won't be warm. At any rate, I admit I was complaining about the heat on Saturday. What? There no pleasing me. What is wrong with 70s? That's all I'm saying. 70s. That's where I am, in terms of my age, and that's where I like my temperatures to be. At any rate, hope you had a good weekend, and hope you were able to enjoy the summer weather. I got, as usual, lots of stuff here in front of me, not quite clear in my own head which direction to go. So this might be one of those hop, skip, and jumping around kind of programs, but what the hell. I was with a friend this weekend, and oh my God, we hadn't seen each other in a little bit, and we spent time talking, and I realized after she'd left that everything we talked about was depressing. And we were, the whole time, it was like, I mean, it really was. And I had a headache. I had a headache. And I texted her later, much later, and said, next time we get together, let's just laugh a lot. I was able also to spend time with another woman, an amazing woman. Actually, I first met her when she was a guest on this program years ago. She is, I don't know, she's an artist, a playwright, an actor, a activist. Is an amazing one-woman band and one-woman show. Her name is Susan Stein, and she's all over the world and the country, trying to move things forward. And sadly, the night we were together, she was exhausted, and she was thinking, is what I'm doing making any difference? And there I was in the strange role for me, being the optimist. But I meant it because this kind of work she does. She's doing something one of the things she's doing right now is at Duquesne University, in which she brings inmates in a class together with police officers. Now, those are two groups that don't normally get together in a kind of atmosphere like that. She goes into schools and talks about Holocaust. She presents a one-woman play in prisons for inmates that maybe have never even seen a play before. And then she does Q&A. They talk because I mean, she's just amazing. She's an amazing human being. And I am so lucky to get to be with her on occasion. There are people who just indefatigably and for not much remuneration, just work and work and work, move things forward. Me, mostly, I moan, I whine, I despair. But I suppose there's room for people like that too. I watched a little bit of one of the Senate debates, the Democratic Senate debate. I think it was Thursday night. I had some guests over, and one wanted to watch an NBA game. and when I turned on the television, lo and behold, it was a debate. I said, "Oh!" And I managed to get him to back off for about 20 minutes while I watched some of the debate. And I have to tell you, what I saw was Malcolm Kenyatta, the guy who won't win, was, to me, by far the most impressive man on that stage. I don't know if any of you watch these debates, but Malcolm Kenyatta is one impressive man. And of course, he won't win. So it'll be between the two white guys. And apparently the big white guy, John Fetterman, ought to be a shoo-in. He bumbled and stumbled and hemmed and hawed his way through. Connor Lamb just looked like a little... It's so funny how you could just have these react, and this is how people do react. It's well known that the Kennedy-Nixon debate, the first presidential debate, it was widely believed that Nixon won that debate. That's if you listened to it. If you watched it, you thought Kennedy won, because Nixon wasn't as attractive and he was sweating. And so these physical images you get, just play so much into how we make a choice. God help us. God help us. And I also want to say this about the debate, which is, and this is the reason why I don't know that you should pay much attention to them. Even Fetterman's hemming, hawing, and obvious discomfort. Because they are asked questions like, what would you do to stop gun violence? You have 15 seconds. I'm not kidding. Every question was a question where you could thoughtfully speak for hours. And the most time I think they were ever given was a minute. There's television for you. There's the dumbing down of America for you. There's the American attention span for you. 15 seconds. Unbelievable. Every time they said it, I just howled with laughter because it's absurd. Okay, so let me see what I got here for you. I am dispirited to see, didn't you, when you heard that Musk was going to try to buy Twitter, thought, oh God, that can't be good. It just can't be good. I'm sorry. Billionaires should not be able, they got all the money. Now they want to control the major ways that people get information. Yeah, they do. And they can. And I was so relieved when I saw that Twitter was really going to push back. Their board was going to do this poison pill thing, which had always worked, never failed. Then I wake up this morning and find out that Musk and the Twitter board have been talking away all through yesterday and into today, and it looks like before this day ends, Elon Musk could well own Twitter. And I'll tell you one of the things that's going to happen. Donald J. Trump's going to get his Twitter account back. Oh, God. So that's not a done deal yet, but if all the insiders and the leakers and the journalists who are champing at the bit. By the way, it is champing at the bit, not chomping. Although I completely understand why someone would think it was chomping. Oh gosh. Orrin Hatch is dead. Normally I wouldn't care, but because he spent a lot of time in these parts, his formative years, I feel I got to do a shout out. Wasn't a big fan of his, obviously. I always thought it looked like his shirt collar was strangling him, didn't it? I mean, my God, how did that man breathe? Well, he ain't breathing anymore. So he was born in Homestead, poor. His Mormon father had come here for work. And I don't know. He was Hatch, the first political position he held was president of the Baldwin High student body. So he was a up and comer and a leader from day one. Captain of the basketball team. Got his law degree from the University of Pittsburgh. Worked here as a lawyer for a few years and then decamped back to Mormon country, to Utah. And his dad was a Democrat. And that's how Orrin Hatch grew up. But somehow he made a real right turn. Sure as hell did. People are fascinating. One of the things, I would just discount him altogether, except one of the things he did do was he was able, despite the fact that he was so much a right-winger. I mean, and he swallowed the Trump Kool-Aid, totally got behind Trump. But he did believe in legislating. He did believe that in order to legislate, you needed to compromise. What an old-fashioned guy. And he truly grew to love. I mean, this was a friendship. One of the most liberal members of the Senate, Ed Kennedy. I can't imagine a more odd couple. The licentious Ed Kennedy and this ramrod, straight-laced former Mormon bishop with the tight collar, Orrin Hatch. But they genuinely liked each other. And they worked together, and they together passed some seriously important legislation. So, I mean, as right-wingers go, Hatch was better than the ones we got now. Better than every single one of them. Because you cannot imagine any Republican senator doing what he did with Ted Kennedy. The CHIP program, the Children's Health Insurance Program, was a result of those two guys working together. And that provided money to the states to cover uninsured children from poor families. I know, I don't get why Orrin Hatch was into it either. Seemed very Republican. I mean, that was the largest expansion of taxpayer-funded health insurance for children since Medicaid was created. And you can bet it cut the number of children who did not have access to health care, cut it hugely, bigly, right? And then he jumps in and is responsible with Kennedy for the Ryan White Act, which also got insurance to uninsured people with HIV. And he was a big sponsor of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So strange, because now that kind of thing just doesn't happen. And I did want to credit him for that. Oh, dear. Speaking of obits, I was looking at the local ones this morning, and I was really getting creeped out because almost everybody in the obits, in the Post-Gazette, is younger than me. That's daunting. And then I read an article about how do you get, when is the time when old people should be off the roads? When should they not be able to drive? And I turned to that article because this is an issue with my mom, who, as you know, is about to turn 100, and she still, even though it's discouraged, she still does drive to the drugstore. That's about as far as we let her go, to the drugstore, because it's a straight shot, no more than 4 blocks. And she's fiercely indignant about the idea that she can't drive. Up until just 5 years ago, she was well into her 90s, and she was still driving to Chicago. She was fine. She was a better driver than a lot of people I know who are a lot younger. So I look at this article and I'm this is after going through the obits, and I'm so demoralized to see that when they're talking about elderly drivers, they're talking about me. Excuse me, they're talking about me. God dang it. Yeah, I went into "God dang it" because that sounded like something an elderly person would say instead of "God damn it," which is what I really want to say. Actually, they were saying 75 and up. And I'm closing in on 75. So I go to this article to read about my mother, and then I find out it's about me and my siblings and her. Jeez. Anyway. Oh, back to the obits. So I'm reading these obits, and my God, they're 60 and 63 and 72 and 40. God! And I can't, and I'm like completely freaked. And I'm thinking, you got to get your head around this. Get your head around this. When you feel, it's odd to be, I guess, looking at the obits and everybody's younger than you. That is an odd thing. And then I came upon, God bless this guy. Oh, God bless him. Fred Steinkirchner. Love you, Fred. He's dead. Age 109. And I thought, Fred, you have made up for all those 70 and 60 people that you are surrounded by. 109. He was a Pittsburgh firefighter. Retired when he was 70. 39 years ago. Jeez. Oh, God help him. Fought in World War II. Anyway, Frederick Stein Kirshner. Can't tell you much about him other than that, but gee whiz, 109. I hope he was in mostly good health, because that's a hell of a span there. But God bless him. He did make me feel like I might, not be dead tomorrow. Barbara sent me something that I really liked. Thank you, Barbara. This is from Matthew Dowd on soon-to-be Elon Musk's Twitter. And this is his post. Inflation is out of control. Immigration is a huge problem. The president has a dismal job approval rating, and he and his party are in serious trouble. And then Dowd goes on to say what I just described there was the view of Macron in France. And as I'm sure you know, he just won a landslide victory yesterday for a second, no, I think a third term, right? Yeah, well, so there it is. And I appreciated that because, the doom and gloom and constant effort of our media to play up every negative gets you so down. And here's another good sign. I found another good sign. Other than Macron, something else happened yesterday in Europe. This rise of right-wing, xenophobic, anti-immigrant fervor in Europe, certainly here as well, got another setback. Macron was one, beating that vile woman, Le Pen. And there was a vote also in Slovenia. Not a nation we think about a lot. And Slovenia has had for the last, I'm not sure, maybe 8 years or so, one of these so-called populist right-wing hater types. A right-winger. He's modeled himself after Hungary's Viktor Orban. And in fact, Orban saw him as a protege and was helping him in his re-election efforts, which just played out. And Orban even saw Slovenia as a testing ground for his, and let us be aware of, his ambitions to remake all of Europe in his illiberal image. And these are parliamentary elections, and 95% of the vote is counted, and there's no way that this Orban wannabe got reelected. His party came in a distant second to a moderate, middle-of-the-road party. Guy who lost is named Jansa, not sure if how that J is pronounced. And he was he loved Donald Trump. And he was a Donald Trump, Viktor Orban type wannabe. And he just got himself booted out. It was widely believed that this vote in Slovenia was a referendum on whether or not Slovenes wanted a democracy or an autocracy, wanted to keep going in the autocratic direction, and they chose democracy. So there, two setbacks for the far right yesterday in Europe, in France, and also in Slovenia. The battle is on. And I just hope our side realizes that it needs to step up, distantly step up, and be there. Oh, boy. Oh, man. I read this today. Hey, after a week of not getting my New York Times, it finally showed up. Clearly not the same deliverer guy. Because the guy I had was just unbelievable. Rain, snow, sleet, hail. My Times was on my porch, right nestled up against my front door. I always wonder when I'm walking the dog and I see papers lying way out by the street and, you know, there's 6 feet of snow on the ground or something. I think, geez, how is that service? You mean somebody, it's a morning paper. Somebody's got to, get dressed, put on outerwear, boots, God knows what, to get to their paper? They're supposed to go to the door. Well, so I got my Times yesterday for the first time and then today. But it ain't at the door anymore. So when winter next comes, I'll be in my boots in the morning. Looking forward to. Anyway, front page of the New York Times today. It got my adrenaline going, which is okay, prior to the show. And perhaps you've seen this. Dateline, Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Sunday Church. One of those big non-denominational, evangelical churches that are all the rage. Let's see, this one's called Church for All Nations. Well, I don't know about that. You think? I hate to tell this church that there are nations that are not Christian, including this one. I just got to tell them that. Church for All Nations. Although, as you know, today the Supreme Court, I'm digressing, is probably going to come down saying it is quite all right for the high school football coach to go to the middle of the 50-yard line before and after the game and kneel down and pray to his Lord and Savior. And for the players and other coaches to feel somehow compelled to show their bona fides. I should have taken Latin, and I didn't. I didn't understand why Latin was important. I do now. That's the thing about getting old. You do get smarter. So, so here's back to the 11 o'clock service at the Church for All Nations. And, they're singing it up and praising the Lord. And then the minister turned the pulpit over to a guest speaker. And damn, this guest speaker came with a PowerPoint demonstration. Because, I'll just give you a little bit of his PowerPoint, okay? These are his words. I believe God is pushing the world to a decision-making moment. We used to have national politicians that held back the floodgates of hell. The umbrella has been ripped after January 6th, and now it is raining down upon every one of us. We had politicians that were supposed to certify that, and instead they just accepted it. And lo and behold, an anti-Christian spirit has been released across the country and the world. The article said that people in the congregation were scribbling down, taking notes like they were at a lecture. And this guy, who's written a book, of course, about it, went on to tell the rapt faithful that Donald Trump had won the election and that their very way of life was in danger because of people like you. Here's why I got so exercised when I saw that. And this is a subject that continues to make me crazy. Tell me again why churches are tax exempt. Tell me again. My understanding is that you cannot do politics from the pulpit. We know it's not true. And these churches should not be tax exempt. Nor should the likes of UPMC. Talk about corruption. There's corruption. There's corruption. A law says one thing, and quite clearly the reality says another. The law is not enforced at all. At all. How come the New York Times and everybody is reporting that this top secret, I forgot how it was put, this incredibly kept, really secret meeting between the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense with Zelensky? I'm thinking, what? There's nothing secret about it. I was hearing about it on Thursday, wasn't I? Weren't you? They were saying they were going over there. How is that secret? I don't understand that. Somebody explain that to me. I'm serious. I really don't get it. Just another thought that got into my head. I'll tell you again, God help us. These Christians, and I'm sorry if you are one. I mean, you might be a real one, but boy, if I were you, I'd be working really hard to disassociate myself from most of your brethren. Well, there's a guy, and this makes sense. You know, Florida's passed this law that, not law, but they're going berserk in Texas, Florida, everywhere, Pennsylvania too. Schools and public libraries are under intense pressure to remove books that will upset people, that will upset Christians, that will upset a certain subset, a huge subset of rabid Christians. And they're being successful, as you know. I mean, I don't have to. Anyway, some guy is now in Florida is saying, okay, I'm on this. If we're taking books out that are inappropriate for kids, I'll tell you one I want banned, and I want it banned right now. The Bible. Is that in there? Get that Bible out. So he filed an objection requesting that the Miami-Dade County Public School System immediately remove the Bible from the classroom, the library, and any instructional material. Why? Well, where do we start? Sex and violence, bestiality, rape, murder. slavery is wonderful and good. And I mean, it's like you cannot even make it up. So he is demanding, he's sending these letters off to all the school districts. And of course, fat chance. But God bless his efforts. I love it when, you turn things around on people, since so much of what they're doing is saying, oh, but the children. Oh, but the children. But what they mean are those white, straight children, the white, straight Christian children. And they don't give a damn about what any of their legislation does to the psyches and to, well, even the bodies of children who don't fit into that group. Apparently there's a book, I never saw it, called Everywhere Babies. It's a classic board book, mostly pictures and babies and with their families, and it's just to celebrate the wondrousness of babies. And this book, which I have never seen, has just gotten itself banned. Of course. I mean, it's been around for a quarter of a century. And, well, that's not true. Almost true. For 2 decades. And I mean, there are families and people love this book. It's on best book lists all over the place, and now it's bad. And the people the woman, the author, and the illustrator were interviewed about this, and they were thrilled. They were thrilled that the book got banned. Here's the author. I hadn't heard about this until I checked my email this morning, and I thought, oh my God, I've been banned. Wow. I mean, I've been following all this book banning stuff and wondering, what's wrong with these people? And they're only bringing more attention to these books. I mean, there are plenty of people who will seek them out and want to read them, so I'm not upset. I suspect I'm about to make some money. And the illustrator said, wow, I don't know that I've ever been on a list with Toni Morrison before or Judy Blume. I mean, the people on this list, I am thrilled to be on the same list as these people. Now, I guess the reason apparently they're on the list is some of the illustrations showed, well, not the kind of families that you would want. I'm sorry, I didn't see I had callers until just now. Go ahead, please. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
There was a delay. I apologize. Hey, first of all, don't get me started on the tax exempt thing. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm tired of
Yeah. It doesn't. No, it's bullshit.
No.
Yeah.
Bullshit. The only way a real liberal politician can respond honestly to the what are you going to do with all this violence thing? The quick and simple answer in less than a minute would be, I'm going to blow up the NRA and all gun rallies. But they can't say that. They're not going. But earlier, last week you were really, you were down, and I was too. Just the future. Oh my God, these poor kids. What are they going to inherit? Blah blah blah. I volunteered for a local community event in my neighborhood where we basically just went around, cleaned up garbage on all the streets and everything. Mm-hmm. And I was teamed up with this young girl. She's a senior at our local high school, and she's has a mom. Dad's never been in the picture, and they've traveled all over the country, and now they've settled here the past 4 years ago. And so she's pretty much on her own because her mom has to work all the time, and she's earning money. She's going to take a gap year, and to earn money so she can start going to school the following year. And she reads literature, this and that, and very knowledgeable. She's optimistic about the future.
Wow. God bless her.
And I said,
well, I hope you didn't try to get her down.
No,
I hope you let her. Yeah.
I asked her questions. I said, so why? Because I'm 6 years old. I feel like I'm handing a pile of shit. And she says, well, I feel like the environment. I said, that's all going to change, but we'll figure something out. Everything, there's always, you're going to move on. And she says, and a lot of my friends feel the same way. And you think about it, like, what did the greatest generation pass on? Well, they fought the fight with Nazism and in the Depression and everything, but they also handed us off terrible pollution, the atomic bomb. We had racism. We had anti-gay, and
the whole thing. The
baby boomers overtook that. It's like, I just got to take a breath and just say, okay, at some point, I can't do anymore. You're doing the best you can. You're doing a really good job. But at some point, you just got to just like say, hey, I did what I could, and somebody smart's going to figure this shit out. And I don't normally feel that way, but this young lady just made me feel good. And I think we need to surround ourselves with young people.
Well, that's absolutely right. But I also want to say this. Look, it's never a zero-sum game. Life is what it is, and it will always be fraught, and there will always be these huge battles. And this is what is. This is what it will be. But God bless people like her who have hope and are willing to work. God bless her.
I want to make her my best friend. I can't adopt her, but I'd like to make her my best friend.
Yes,
because she was I need to.
Yeah, no.
Like
you
that.
do. Yeah.
So.
We do. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate it. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Oh yeah, and wait a minute. Roger also had sent me a quote last Thursday that I didn't see until after the show, and it's a great one. And he talks about he and his wife spending a week in Washington, D.C. and going to the Jefferson Memorial and seeing a quote, this quote that I'll now read to you from Jefferson there, which so puts the lie to those who believe in a originalist reading of the Constitution, right? I mean, good God, if there was an originalist reading, we'd still have, black people as 3/5 of a human being, and women wouldn't vote. And I mean, come on. I mean, it just strikes me as so ridiculous. Anyway, here's what Thomas Jefferson, one of the writers, one of the revered slaveholding founding fathers of this country, said. I am not an advocate for frequent changes in laws and constitutions, but laws and institutions must go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind. As that becomes more developed, more enlightened, as new discoveries are made, new truths discovered, and manners and opinions change with the change of circumstances. And institutions must advance also to keep pace with the times. We might as well require a man to wear still the coat which fitted him when a boy, as civilized society to remain ever under the regimen of their barbarous ancestors. Oh, yeah. Well, Tom, you barbarian. Yeah. Yeah. Well, somebody explain to me this kind of journalism. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It annoys the holy hell out of me. This is in the New Yorker. And it's a woman writing it, Annie Hilton. And she's writing about these two Ukrainian officials who find themselves in Brussels during the war. And it's just she happened to find herself at a dinner at someone's house that these two officials were at. And so it's just a little, it's called Brussels Postcard. And let me just, I'm cherry picking this. It's a tight little thing. It's not a big article, but she writes, two tired Ukrainian officials who work in President Zelensky's administration arrived at a dinner party in their honor in Brussels. Maria Tomak and Tamila Tasheva, both residents of Kiev in their mid-30s, had spent a long day in meetings with European diplomats advocating for an EU ban on Russian fossil fuels. And then she quotes one of the women. "We didn't have too much hope," Muck said, adding that their efforts were unlikely to be game-changing. She had on a black turtleneck and Calvin Klein sneakers. What the? What? Why? I don't care what she was. Why? Can you imagine reading about two men diplomats and then all of a sudden he was wearing what is that about? And then one more paragraph down, Tasheva, who wore a gray blazer with a pearl brooch on the lapel. And she goes on to quote them talking about the horrors of the war, and like I'm imagining, like, this helps me because I can see Calvin Klein sneakers on one of their feet and a brooch on a lapel. What the hell does that have to do with anything? And then all of a sudden another woman makes an appearance, the host's wife. And that's how she's described. Papushvili's wife, Lucia Matskia, served a squid pasta dish and arugula and citrus salad. I don't give a shit. Now, I guess this is a certain kind of journalism that paints a picture. And so if you're painting the picture, you want to let people know what they're wearing. But I don't know what any of the men there were wearing. And then they go on talking about all the incredible food that they were eating. And then at least the writer quotes one of the women saying, "Eating and drinking like this feels strange, especially after, well, you see all those dead bodies." And the other one says, "You feel guilty, not only being here," and the other breaks in, "but because you're alive." Well, see, there's the meat of it. But I don't, when I'm reading a story and all of a sudden These are two diplomats. If they're female diplomats, we get that kind of treatment, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it, and I am stunned. And it's a woman writing it, and I'm so sick and tired of it. All right. Jeez. I have a doctor's appointment after this. I hope they don't take my blood pressure. Mentioned that there's going to be before the day's out, Elon Musk might own Twitter, and all these precedents saying you can't pray in a public school, you can't have these displays of Christian prayer. I think all of that's going to be blown up before the day's out. We have a surging Christian nationalist movement in this country, and they hold incredible power. They control the Supreme Court of the country. They have a huge media apparatus. They control most legislatures, state legislatures. And again, this is from the New Yorker, it is pointed out that unless, if you're not paying attention, and I think this for young people, Roger mentioned this young girl, this is going to come as a shock to them. It should not come as a shock to us older folks, but it will, because we often think that something won is won. That's it. But something won can be taken away. Because if you look at history, rights, human rights, can certainly expand. But they can also retract. If you know human history, you cannot argue otherwise. There are breathtaking examples. Germany, between the world wars, of a people who just assumed certain things, certain freedoms, and then bang, in a blink, on. So we are looking toward the Supreme Court upending a whole bunch, a ton, of what we thought were done deals, with abortion being the biggie. And it is so assumed that they're going to essentially destroy Roe, overturn it or maim it, that is why you have all of these Republican states falling all over themselves to act as if it's already gone, as Texas did, as Oklahoma has, as Mississippi has, as Idaho has, as Missouri has. I mean, they are all acting as if it's already gone. And man, these laws, one is more astonishing than another. We've talked as they've come up, but just to remind you, I mean, in the Idaho law, it pretty much just criminalizes all abortion and allows, if a pregnancy is a result of a rape, that law allows the rapist's relatives to sue anyone who tries to abort the child. Missouri allows private citizens to sue an out-of-state abortion provider. Oklahoma, not to be outdone, says it's a felony punishable by 10 years in prison. And here's what a lot of, as awful as all that is, there are signs that this is not, you think this is where this ends? It's sort of like Zelensky trying to tell the world, do you think this is where it ends? You think Russia, having taken us, is going to stop? You think Putin is going to stop trying to reconstitute the Soviet Union? This is not where these people stop. They're going to go on. They'll end up banning certain contraception. They could very well end up, some states. You see, if the Supreme Court eviscerates Roe and essentially says, no, this is something that the states have to decide. Well, if abortion is something the states get to decide, then why shouldn't the states decide whether gay people can get married? This is how this is going to open up. Or why shouldn't the states be able to decide whether whites and blacks can marry? Or why can't states decide that they do actually want to criminalize gay sex? I have told you that there are a number of Republicans now who are questioning long-standing Supreme Court decision. I think it's from the 70s, Griswold v. Connecticut, that struck down states' right to ban contraception. And here's what they argue. Something this big should not be decided. Here's what the court will say. Something this big, so this personal, should not be decided by, us 9 guys and gals sitting up here in our black robes. This is the kind of decision that should be left to the people. And if it's to be left to the people, it belongs at the state level where people elect their representatives. And those representatives should make these choices. It should be a more democratic process, not from the top federal government, the Supreme Court, on down. And so, just a heads up. Also, expect to see states attempting to recognize the constitutional rights of fetuses. And they'll use the 14th Amendment to do that. And I'll tell you, if something like that were to get to this Supreme Court, it could well be that fetuses in this country will have more rights than the women who hold them. And as this New Yorker article points out, it points out something I've been pointing out forever. If all of this sounds like on to you, just remember what this pro-life movement, remember how dogged, creative it has been. unlike our side too often. These guys, the guys who want to control women's bodies and your sex life and who you love and who you are, these people fight along. Okay, that's it for me. Heading out to my doctor. I'll do some meditation in the car maybe and get my blood pressure down. Okay, see y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.